What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Thursday night Airbrush Down and Dirty Tricks the Reaper live feed. And yes, you did hear some cowbell, because you always need more. Let's see how we're all doing tonight. I am on the air. I did hit record. I think we have audio, so I think we're all good. Let's see what we got here. Who do we got on? We got Michael Stanton. We got Michelle. Hi, Michelle. We got Steve. We got my mom over on Facebook. Hi, Mom. Dave the Bug Gregory. Ta-da. All right. How are we all doing this evening? We're all having a good week. We had some snow. Big Yogurt Slingers in. Cody Adams. We had a little bit of snow this week. We had some snow yesterday. Well, beginning of the week we had I think we got like 6 or 7 inches.
Yeah,
about 6 or 7 inches, and it wasn't too bad. And then yesterday we had a few more inches, but then it rained, so it's pretty much gone. So we're all good up here. Never lost power, but a bunch of other people did. And everyone's doing well, from what I hear. And my mom says hi. All right, let's see who else we got in the house. We got 34 people. We got 2 over on Facebook. Thanks, Facebook. Make sure you guys are sharing those posts, sharing the feed, liking it, all that fun stuff. Got Scott on the big screen tonight, and the phone, monitor, and chat. Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I can see myself all over the place. It's actually really annoying because I just put another monitor in front of me, which is the actual program. The feed you're watching is now in front of me big, so I can make sure it looks all right, and then I have everything else. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screens of my ugly mug. Hey, Life, how you doing? Spirit Air Custom, how's it going? Adam Thoreau, Thor. I have to learn how to pronounce your name. Torno or Tonek? I don't know. We'll have to talk. Avis Mendez. All right. Let me show you what we are doing this evening. We are doing, let's see here, reference image. So this is what we're doing. This is it's a Reaper I did a while back on a tour pack, and I did a couple tweaks to it. And what I've done is I've added this to my Reaper set. So on McKayFineArt.com, there's a whole set of the Reaper from last year, which has 2 or 3 different Reapers in different positions with background elements like the crows and the moon and like gnarled up trees and I think bats. Might have bats, I forget. So what I did is I design this one for this feed tonight, and I added it to that collection. So anyone who's already downloaded that collection automatically gets this download for free. So I sent out a link to everyone. You just re-download the files, and it'll have this in there. For anyone new tonight, if you go on and download it tonight, you'll have everything. And if you use code COWBELL, then you'll get 20% off that product and all the digital content on my site. So 20% off to the end of the weekend for anyone doing this download or anyone. Just use Cowbell. All right, and we're going to get this thing going. Let's see, we got Honey in here. We got Nameless Subscriber. Who else we got? We got Dana Schaefer. What's up, man? How you doing, dude? It's been a while. Let's see who else we got. All right. We are doing good. So we're going to be doing that. Yeah, so make sure you get over to... Whoa, that was the wrong thing. We have to go back to that one. And this one. So if you want to get this download, go over to McKayFineArt.com. You can look at all the downloads there. The Reaper is there. The link is in the description. The link is actually pinned to the top of the YouTube channel page. And you can go right to the Reaper download and go from there. So let's talk a little bit about what we got going on here. Let me get into my thing here. Let's go. We're going to bring up Super Source. Let's bring all this stuff up. All right. So this is what we are doing. We got the main reference image. Let me bring you up here. All right. So who else we got here? Good. Now my face is off the screen. I feel better. How you doing, Peter? Thank you for checking in from Quebec. we're going to be up that way eventually. We have to go look at some colleges up in Vermont, and then maybe do a trip as well. Let's see. All right. Cheers, everyone. So, this is the image we're doing. So this is a plottable file. I've already plotted it out. It's already actually cut. And let me do I got a new camera angle for you guys, which is nice, side by side, which is nice and easy. And then what do I got? I got this one here. Yeah, we're going to use this one here for now. Yeah, instead of that one. Cool. All right. So this is what I've done. Oh, yeah, Dave. Yeah, these are made by Dewey Dave. Dewey Dave makes these. These are awesome. He's on Facebook. You can find him out. They're really good. I got to get him to make me a set with like those super magnets that Steve uses, so they really get through the metal. So very cool. So I have a panel here. This panel, I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. Whoops, that's in. Let me get back here. So what I did here, this is a 12 by 14 inch panel, and we have a 1/2 inch border all around. And what I did is I did a halftone fade. I did a gradient fade today, and with those colors, let me talk about what I didn't put the primer colors I used, but I'll talk about those as well. Where is my paint list? Honey! Oh, we gotta give it. Where is it? Oh, where's my noise? Nope, that's not it. Yay, honey! Honey gets cowbell. More cowbell. Thank you very much, honey. I really appreciate it. So let's get on here. Let's go to paint list. So, I didn't put the primers down like I did last week. I forgot to do that. So what I did is I used a mix of black and white Autoborn sealer. And I started with the darker, and then I added light to it. And I just did a gradient fade with it. So basically, because I want this Reaper background to kind of go up to the sky, so I want it a little brighter here because it's going to be the moon, and darker towards the bottom. You can just do a straight gray, it doesn't matter. I did a halftone. Reducer tonight I'm using is my normal mix, which is 4:1. 4 parts, 40-11 reducer, 40-20. I like the 40-20 because I like it to dry just a hit faster. It's just personal preference. You don't need it. I just like the extra kick. All the colors have mixed. All the colors have been mixed with 40-50. I think it was 40-53 actually, which was the gloss clear. Very little bit in the opaque white and the neutral gray one. I think I put like just 10% in there just to kind of kick it over to a polyurethane. And then the black candy, I did 1:1 with actually no reducer in that. That's just, when you do the 1:1 reducer with the candy, I mean, the 1:1 candy to UVLS, you don't really need reducer unless you actually need it for flow, but for the most part, you don't really need it. So that's what we're using for paint this evening. And obviously that's from Craytex. We got water brushes, and we got this fisheye filters on everything to keep everything cool and dry. You can get that all at Coast. Yeah, we got Steve over on Facebook. How you doing, man? Hey, that bike's looking awesome, brother. That pattern looks good, too. I don't know where you got that cool pattern, but it looks pretty bitchin'. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. And, yeah, let's get going on this. Let's get going. All right. So, this is the image we're doing. Okay. And this is all plotted already. So, off camera, magic of TV. I've already plotted it. It's been transfer taped, and we'll weed as we go. And I'm going to show you a little trick here as well. Adam, yeah, I do. When I'm doing this feed, I don't turn it on because it'll mess with the mics. But I'm airbrushing such a minute amount that it's not really necessary. So when I do the base in here, this is done out in the shop. This is not done here in the recording studio. This base primer is actually done in the shop with all the vents on and everything else. But in here, I wouldn't spray this much stuff because I have all my computers in here and all the cameras and everything else. This is really just a studio for airbrushing. I'll have to do a video, some shop videos eventually. There's a lot of cameras to move. All right, so we have our vinyl. This has already been cut and ready and transfer taped. I'm going to put this on.
So what type of transfer tape do you use?
So this transfer tape is our tape. Just a regular Conform series. Nothing special. Just regular transfer tape. On the paper tape, I don't go too nuts on. I'll get our tape. There's a few other brands. It doesn't really matter. When I use the clear transfer tape, like when I'm on a curved surface, which I am going to do a couple gas tag curved surfaces in the near future since I got some of the tank blanks coming in from Coast AirBrush. Then I use the R-Tape AT75. That's what I use for clear transfer. For this stuff, just regular paper transfer tape is fine. I think R-Tape, I can't think of some of the other names off the top of my head. Sorry about that. Alright, so I always do the hinge technique. It's the application I applied. Shine in Travis. You can run a box fan, furnace filter. Yeah, so typically up in here, I actually have an in-room scrubber that I use for a lot of stuff, which is just for artwork. And then I have an exhaust fan with some filters, just for artwork. In the shop, I have a full vent system. Then I have a spray booth in my commercial space where I do any of the big work and clear work. So, all right. So this is how I apply transfer tape. So I do the hinge technique. I come across the middle, I peel half it back, and I've done this in a bunch of videos before. I gotta just cut these out for short videos to link back to. And I pull this off. I pull half it off, and I just take a vinyl squeegee, and I lightly apply it down. And I say lightly, I don't go super heavy right now. And then I pull the hinge off. This is most important, okay? Pulling the hinge off is most important. Because if you put the bottom down, then you have a middle of the backer stuck between both layers, and it's not good. Don't do that. I know when I teach this, there's always one we have to fish out because they missed that. You do it once you do it once, you never you remember. Steve Leahy, that was an amazing feed today. That project you are doing, and if you haven't seen Steve Leahy's YouTube channel, go check it out. The painting he did today is just epic. It's awesome. I really want a print of that because it's just really great. Who else we got over on Facebook? Well, I got a couple of people on Facebook. The problem with Facebook, man, just no one gets it. If you guys on YouTube are here, if you can, open up your Facebook. If it doesn't close your YouTube, share this out to people. Maybe you'll start to get people back on Facebook as well that don't know it's there. Because I know last week I put up a thing. I really can't. It's actually amazing. So I put up a thing last week that we reached over 8,000 subscribers, and we got to like 700. We're almost at 750,000 views for the channel. And like a bunch of people messaged me, and a few people posted, "Oh, I didn't know you had a YouTube channel." I'm like, "How do you not know I have a YouTube channel? I post every week." And people just don't see it. Just the way the algorithms work. So if you guys can share it, get people on, let people know we're on. That would maybe help on the Facebook side. YouTube seems to be doing pretty well. We got 50 of you in here. Just make sure you like and subscribe, because I know 49%, based on stats, 49% of watchers are not subscribing. And I know that's kind of common for YouTube, but I'd like to get that number even less. So if you watch every week and you haven't hit the subscribe button, just because you know what, hit the subscribe button, helps me out, helps the algorithm, and more people see it. So that would be much helpful. Thank you, Spirit Air, much appreciated. Oh, remember I said I didn't squeegee this hard, so the vinyl's starting to pull up a little bit. And because I'm on a painted surface with that sealer, I actually put the seal down a little bit rough. So that way I have a little tooth to work off of, which I kind of like. Yeah, see, now we're already up 6 people over on Facebook. Got more people coming up. Thank you for sharing, guys, over on YouTube. Alright, so here's the thing. I'm going to show you guys a trick. This is the problem everyone complains about. It's like, oh, I cut this vinyl. I stuck it on. I can't see it. Well, I'm going to show you a couple tricks. And this is a trick hopefully I can extract out of this video and just make a little short clip. So you guys can't see this, right? You can't see all the cuts. The cuts are already there, you know, so we can zoom in here. You can see, if I zoom in really close, you can just see them. So there's two ways to go about doing this. Let's see here. So I wish I don't have any of the graphite or the black pounce powder anymore. So I used to use, in my shop, I just use a dirty shop floor. And Michelle will know because we did this in class. I just grab dirt off the floor on a rag and start going. So if you have pounce powder, you can use pounce powder, but I only got the blue here. If I had the black pounce chalk or graphite chalk, you could see it. But if you don't have that, let me show you another trick I've done in the past. Let's see here. I'm going to take some of what the black, actually the neutral gray I'm using. I'm going to add some more reducer to it so it's pretty thin. And this is a good trick. This works. Okay. So just take it. Really thinned out paint. And just kind of do a wash over it. Don't let it like sit too long. Don't let it like be too much. And then kind of wipe it off, and you'll start. Now I can see it really clear as I keep taking it off. You might be able to start seeing it. Let me zoom in a little more. We'll do it one more time. And that paint's basically filling in the scratch. I actually think the pounce chalk works better. But basically what's happening is the paint's getting into the cut line and kind of filling it in. See that? Now you can see it pretty well. Now you can just wipe off the excess. Don't saturate it like with super wet paint. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. And then if you want, take some straight reducer and lightly just, if you go over it lightly, you'll take it off the vinyl, but you won't pull it out of the crack too much. And even, let me see, do I have, there it is. I'm going to reach across here. I'll do a little isopropyl, because the isopropyl will really take it off. There we go. So a little isopropyl alcohol with the Cratex is good. It's taking off the vinyl, but it's not taking out of the cracks. So now, you can see it pretty well. Like I said, you could use pounce chalk, you could use graphite, you can do all sorts of tricks. But if you're having trouble seeing your cuts, this will help you out a lot. Like I can see them in person here, but on camera you guys couldn't see it. That's kind of why I want to show you this trick. And it's a great trick for you doing when you're using a vinyl mask. Alright, cool, hope that helps. Who else we got here? We got Kyle Hansen. Hi, Kyle. Brian, Rick. Alright, so let me bring up. So you can see the reference image to the left. So on the left side of the screen and the right side of the black and white. That was what I did on a silver. It was on a trike. I think I did that 4 years ago. It was on a tailgate, like a lift gate on a trike. So I just did some couple tweaks to this one. And originally I tweaked this one. It was going to be used for a different painting. We never used it. So now remember, I have a gradient fade under here. So keep that in mind. It's not a white panel, it's not a black panel. For all intents and purposes, it's a gray panel. It's just lighter gray up top. It's darker gray on the bottom. And I'm going to use it to my advantage because, with the sake of time, I'm going to use the white. And I'm going to shade around it. And I'm going to do all sorts of different things. So again, we've all done this, or not we all, but I've done it in multiple videos before, where, you know, I try to work from background to foreground. So I'm considering this a lighter surface, especially up the top half of it, you know, the upper section. So when I'm on a lighter surface, I work from background up to foreground. So I start with the darkest areas, and I work my way forward through the painting. Now that doesn't always hold true. Sometimes you got to go back and forth, and for that back and forth, I only cut one piece of vinyl. If I have to go back and remask, my paper cut file here, this is the key. The paper is actually printed without any size reduction or magnification as the vector file. So when I go into Adobe Illustrator, which is what I use, but any other program works the same, I plot that file onto the mask, and then what I do is I go to print, and when I print it, I make sure it's 100%. I don't change the sizing or the scaling at all. That way, 1 inch on the print is 1 inch on the vector. Okay, so that way you can cut this as loose templates and kind of line it up, and you get that soft and hard with the mask. So that's kind of why I do both. Okay. All right. So cool. Cigarette, yeah. If you're a smoker, ashtray, man, just pull that. That'll fill in that. That's great. All right, I want to put these aside, and I got my cutting mat here. So when I want to cut this out, I just bring this up, and of course, this is on my Visionaire system, which again makes it super easy. All right, any questions before I begin? And I start like not looking at posts, but Kaylee will keep an eye on the post, right, Kaylee? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yep. Okay. All right. So like I said, the colors I'm using, I have that neutral gray one, I have black candy, and opaque illustration white. Okay. So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start my mid, which is that neutral gray 9, which is pretty dark on camera. It almost looks black, but so let's show you that. So this is the reason I do that. So look, that's black. Kind of looks black, and I can get in pretty dark. But when I cut back in with the black candy, or you can use straight illustration black, it just really brings it home, okay? And that's kind of how I like to work, because I can work in kind of a middle ground and then tighten it up at the end. What's the cheers of the evening? Oh, the cheers of the evening is 4 roses. This is, well, was 4 roses. And then water, because you must hydrate. It's my public service announcement. You must hydrate. All right. Okay, so I'm going to start with the big features of the skull itself. All right. I'm going to do the mouth, do the eye sockets, and I'm going to come around and start doing the cloak, and I'll start working my way out. I have some rips and tears open in here. Okay, so I have some pieces here. I should grab a pencil. Okay, can you grab me one of the click pencils or something out of there, or just any pencil? Oh, I got my black wing. Got my black wing, my snooty pencils. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by looking at what's deepest, which is like inside here, which is like inside the robe. And then I'll end up freehanding some of the highlights and everything around for the bones and stuff like that down the end. But they're white, so they come off last. I'm going to hit these guys. I'm going to work my way out of it. But I'm going to start with the face, nose socket, and the mouth, and then I'll work to this side of the cloak. And in here, I'm looking at anatomy-wise, like his head's actually here. Okay? Means his neck's coming down here. His shoulders are actually here. And this is where his rib cage would start. So here you'd start seeing the ribs. Okay? And, basic anatomy helps so you understand kind of what you're seeing. You might actually see a little hip bone here, but it's not too crazy. So I like having the paper here. You can kind of mess with it and just kind of figure it out from there. Let's see. Plenty of room. So pretty silent. Someone retracted. Oh, Steve, you retracted a message. I missed it. Was it saucy? What were we talking about? Smoking? Yeah, I'm not going to give you the smoking lecture. I did it for years. Got rid of it. And it's awesome. But you ain't going to do it till you're freaking ready to do it. And that's what it really comes down to. Alright, so let's get started here. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more so you can see. Alright, so I'm just going to pull, I want to pull this nose. Oop, super easy. I'm going to pull the eye. And for those of you who've been painting on, like, you notice I paint on metal panels a lot. And a lot of times they're just colored white or black. And they're great. I took the teeth out by mistake. But the vinyl mask sticks really like hard to that stuff, which is what it's supposed to do. When you put a base color down, the mask actually removes and applies easier, so it doesn't stretch. So I kind of like working over a color, and I've been trying to do that more often. All right, so notice I didn't pull this eye. I pulled things that aren't touching, because what I can do is I can really get in there, and I can hit that one. And again, just like when I use stencils, I don't overdo it. I'm just registering it in because I want to freehand everything towards the end. So I don't want to like spray a bunch of black in there. I want to be able to freehand that detail in later. And I know the jaw, you can actually see a little bit of the jaw, but I didn't make a cut file. So if you look really close, I kind of mirrored that in there where the back side of the jaw that goes behind the skull. So I put that in first, and then I can make it darker. And you'll notice towards the end, that'll look like the back side of the jaw. Okay. Let me see if I can zoom in. On this camera, I saw this really cool thing the other day because I need more gadgets. I think Michelle always laughs at me with the gadgets. It was a remote control, like, camera piece. So when you get close in, it's gonna like pink out a little bit. That's just because there's not enough light getting to the sensor. But so see what I did. I can take this time to like freehand in some teeth in the back side of that jaw because I know it's there. And even the back side of the skull. So I mean, I just kind of get that situated. And I go in here. I really wish the camera didn't do what it does when you get close, but it's just, you know. Eventually this camera, this one here that I'm doing, this guy, needs to be upgraded to the same one that this one's doing. And then I won't have this problem as much. But it's just more equipment that has to be paid for. Bought and paid for. Okay, so you see I did that. I did the nose here. I did this. For those interested, we will be taking bids on this. The bids would start at $200 before I'd even consider selling this one because it's going to be a big one. But if anyone's interested, we can definitely start the bids out at $2 and go from there. So now I'm going to do the eye socket on this side. And because I did the nose and that, I have a little delineation between the two, which is perfect, which is what I want, okay? I'm going to back off this guy here so a little more light gets into the camera and it won't look as red. There we go. That looks better. I can kind of shift him a little bit. Okay, so where's my pick? So I have my knife. And I never used to use it for years. I really got into these pick tools. And the reason why I started using them, I've always used plastic razor blades and they're awesome. And I was at SEMA and Bob Spina, the legend, custom painting legend, Bob Spina, love you Bob, gave me one because he didn't like me use the plastic razor blades. He's like, use this, it's way better. He gave me one. This is not the one he gave me. I have that one out in my studio, my other shop. But you can buy these online. This was, I forget which company this was from. But it's a nice pick, and if you're really careful with it, you don't actually pick the surface. So I've actually really gotten accustomed to using it. Okay, so I gotta be careful here because I'm looking at this, and this is the hood, Okay, but the back side of this robe is actually below, and I don't want to pull it all off yet because I got to do more, but I just kind of want to work in this area. So this is a good trick. Just, I'm going to pull off a little bit. I'm just going to fold it back for now, and I'm going to hit that dark where that robe, where the hood overshadows the robe. And I'm just going to make sure it's dry. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, it's just a matter of when I zoom in, it lets a different amount of light in the camera, and because I have so much lighting going on here, like I have like a rose-colored pink light coming to my left, and then I have a greenish one coming to my right, which balances out the camera feed because of all the blue light behind me. So there's a lot. Yeah, it is a small pick, and for some reason, how they have the needle, like the end tapered in the type of steel, it doesn't really poke into the surface much. It really gets the vinyl and just picks it up without really marring what's underneath. So it's really good. So then, once I did that, now I pull that back. I can pull the rest of the mask, not the mask, but the hood of the Reaper. And I kind of save this stuff off to the side. I'll probably never use it. Yeah, I got plenty of lighting, and the lighting isn't the issue. So the way it works, because I have so many cameras, if I use one, if I have my 5K light, so watch what happens. If I use my light, this is what happens. It gets washed out, and if I'm not careful, the actual it'll pulse. But because I have all these cameras crisscrossing each other, now the cameras have to readjust. And I have the background lighting and stuff like that. It's not about one light. It's about having each camera gets a different amount of light in, so it's trying to balance it out. That's the trick to a camera setup like this. Because when I go here, so when I go like this, I have all this blue lighting behind me, which is actually bleeding out front. Then above me, I have a white light on the actual surface. And then to make me not all washed out, I have other colored lights coming off the side, and it's really a lot. All right. So now I can do this. And I really could put that back in. Because you're gonna, it's the jaw, but it's gonna be pretty dark back there. So this is where I can start manipulating like the robe and start getting some folds and things like that. I can do a lot of that at the end. But it's just a matter of getting it dark. Because remember, this is not black. This is got kind of grayish tone. And this is where I'm having multiple airbrushes helps. Yeah, Cody, I've gone a bit overboard. But the reason why I went this overboard is so I can do a live feed with all these cameras. And all these different angles so you guys can see everything. As opposed to recording it and then spending a couple days in editing out for you guys. I wanted it to be able to switch back and forth in different feeds and not have to rely on post-editing afterwards. Gerald Mendez. Gerald's over on Facebook. How you doing, my friend? Thank you for popping in. So now watch. So because I did that neutral number 9, now the black candy, which is a little overreduced, I can go in, and that can be my darkest dark. If you just use black and white solid with no buffer in between, you end up running out of gradation pretty fast. John Custer, you're challenging your cameras and the white balance. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of I spend quite a bit of time ahead of time before this feed adjusting the white balance on the cameras. Now, so this camera coming from the side, like this one here, and the one to me are matched. They're the same type of camera. They're a nice DSLR mirrorless camera, and they're not super cheap. The one that's above, this above cam here, this is just just an Amazon, like $150 4K fixed camera. It works. It does a great job everywhere. I love it. But it has to be set up different from the other two. So that's kind of the trick. But it's all getting there. It's all getting there. Alright, so we can get up here, get that darkness. I'm just working my way around. And now...
Go Warlock. Warlock?
What about Warlock? What do we got?
He's here.
Hey Warlock, how you doing? Virgilio's here. Warlock's in the house. Gerald's over on Facebook. Honey's over on Facebook. Hola. Hola, Gerald. ¿Cómo está?
Oh, Honey's on both.
Honey's on both. How I see you on YouTube. Kaylee, can you post a link?
Yes, I can.
Gerald, Kaylee's going to post a link to go over to YouTube. Okay, so... You know what I gotta do? I gotta get down... I just really want to work on this up here, so... I'm going to kind of break my rule a little bit. Actually, do the same thing. I'm going to pull back...
Warlock said he's doing well and asked how the feed's going.
Feed is going well, sir. Feed is going very well. Cameras and sound look good. So I think we're alright. Oh, yeah, Gerald, super congrats on going to the show. I'm super happy for you and super jealous. What, you're going to have an awesome time there, and it's going to be awesome for all those guys to be able to learn from you and hang out with you. Congratulations, it's awesome. So I'm just folding this back for now because, you know, the shoulder does come in front of the hood in this case. The way I have it set up, so I'm just going to rotate that down, make sure it's dry. I'm going to put it back. Okay, I do this quite a bit. I do a lot of fold, back and forth folding. Mike Gillette, you got it on the big screen. Good for you. Good for you. All right, I'm going to pull this. I'm going to pull the hood. Let's see, put this off. So you see, because I'm working on a base coat, this pulls off with no distortion. When you're on sanded clear, it can actually grab pretty harshly, so you got to be a little bit more careful. One of my devices has audio running through it. I don't know.
I think it's the iPad.
No, not the iPad. They're both muted. I wonder. I don't know.
Not mine. Weird.
Yeah, keep getting audio. It might be one of the maybe it's one of the TVs.
Maybe it's that.
No, this one's on mute. Way too much in here for electronics. Okay, so now when it comes to doing the hood, this is where I start shading. I don't just kind of fill. I start thinking about how the hood's going to roll over the shoulder and bend a little bit. And I'm not going to flood it with paint. But I want to get coverage in there, especially on the mask edge, so I can highlight and shadow off it. That's kind of the key. So I want to make sure I get paint everywhere, but I don't over flood it, because I don't want to lose my delineation, and you'll see how this kind of works as I go through it. Web, are you getting me on double voice? Because you shouldn't be getting me on double voice. If you are... Oh, I know where it is. It's my iPad is catching it. Now I should not have...
The big iPad?
Yeah, this one...
Oh.
Might have been miking my voice through and giving me...
Maybe.
Did it just go away?
Yeah, you said it's gone now.
Yep. So, yeah, my one of my devices, the mic was on. So if I do this now, it'll probably come back. You might start to hear it. No, it shouldn't. Anyway. Huh, weird. Weird. I was going to actually mess with a new mic tonight, which was the mic for my, like I have a wireless lavalier mic, but I haven't integrated it into the system yet, because I know I got to play with it quite a bit to get it to work right. So I start shading. You know, the hood's going to come down. Like I said, this is where you want to have multiple airbrushes. Having one airbrush gets tough right now, because there's a lot of back and forth. Don't go out and just blow all your money on a micron. The first brushes you need is like an I want to Eclipse or something like that. If you can only afford 2 brushes, get 2 Eclipses. If you can afford a little more, get like 1 HPC plus and 1 Eclipse. If you can afford a micron, get a micron and an Eclipse. That way you at least have 2. But I don't recommend the micron right out the gate. It's super finicky. It takes a lot. It's amazing, don't get me wrong. But don't blow your budget if that's all you can afford is 1 brush. If you only have like $500-600 to spend on brushes, get a couple HPC pluses and some Eclipses first. Okay, because now, so I can shade here, I can come in with my white. Ah, Gerald is here, Mr. Mendez. So Gerald, if you go, while you're on here, if you hit subscribe, you'll probably, in the notification, you'll get notified when I go online. It'll be easier to find me next time. Because like last week, I did the feed. So last week I did the feed, and Facebook would not launch. No matter what we tried, 3 or 4 or 5 times, it just wouldn't launch. YouTube always stays stable, so that's why I always do them over here. So Facebook is secondary, YouTube is primary. So I'm always here on YouTube, and that's always going to work as far as... If it's not working on YouTube, I'm not doing the feed. But Facebook glitches out too much. So that's why I'm over here. So make sure you like and subscribe and go from there. And it's always more stable. Facebook just is glitchier. Even... This is all coming from the same source, it's just glitchier. I totally forgot I had a micron into our... I totally... Oh, someone's shaking their head right now. I totally forgot I had a micron. People who don't have microns are cursing your name right now. So look, I know with that black, and I can like make the shadows darker, like freehand. And this one I'm going to do towards the end. But I can also mess with the highlighting. So with my white, which is the opaque white, make sure like I said, don't get me wrong, I love my microns, but it's not the first brush I grab. You know, it's what I grab when I need it. So I don't really need this to the end, but if I want to play with some highlighting, like I can do that now. Just to see, and I know based on how it's spraying, it needs to reduce a little bit more. So my 4:1 paint reduction. My 4:1 paint reduction. I want to put the reduce a little more, let that coagulate a little bit. You know, get a little bit softer spray. But like I said, I don't really need that till the end. Yeah, Gerald's right. So it is a balance. So once you start using the micro and get comfortable, you don't want to use anything else. So I've developed a regimen where I use them just like you work from like mid-tone to highlight. I work the same way with airbrushes. So my mid-tones, I work with like an HPC Plus or like nicely dialed in just Eclipse. That's how I get all my mid-grade stuff, all my color values, my shading, my tone. And then as I start increasing in detail, I start moving to the micron. That's where I found works great for me, you know, in the automotive space. So that's how I've worked it. You know, and this, you know, don't know what time we have.
It's 8:46.
This may be a project that goes past a single feed. But like I said, this is really something I wanted to add to the Reaper set. So, you know, on the Reaper, you know, download, now you have so many options you can go through between this one and the other one. So, but I always spend most of my time here on the face. Okay, so now you can kind of see everything's toned in. This highlight's a little harsh, but once I start toning down the road, it's going to just kind of blend right in. The Krios is fine. It's the same size nozzle. They're just not as finely tuned, but they work. They work well. They ultimately do a very similar and same job. My point is, you know, the 0.18, 0.15, you know, once you go down that far, you have to, when you get that fine, you're sacrificing certain flow and atomization on a larger area for the detail. So that's why I find having different size brushes is key. Cool. I'm going to go here. All right, let's get the face out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the face, I'm going to leave the teeth. Oh, actually, you know what I'm going to do? Because I want the teeth to be super bright instead of gray. So watch, I'm going to pull, like a dentist. It's like pulling the dentures out. I want to pull the teeth, okay? And I'm going to take my white. And I'm going to hit the toss. I'm going to kind of register those teeth in. With the white each tooth, I'm just going to touch them, just hit them a little bit. I remember here that Rob Churchill explained it really well. So when you look at skulls, as skulls age, the teeth are always brighter than the bone because the teeth have enamel, the bone does not. So as a skull ages, the teeth are always a little bit brighter. And I found automotive, if you keep them bright, it just has a cooler look to it. So yeah, I just kind of keep them a little bit lighter than the rest of it. Yeah, exactly, Charles. So that's why I tend to go the opposite way. I teach them to work within like the Eclipse and CS to get the most detail out of that. And then they kind of graduate up to the Micron. The Micron performs 100 times better for them. Yeah, it comes down to paint too. Like, yeah, it depends what kind of paint you're using. Alright, so white's dry. I'm going to put the teeth back on. I'm going to put his dentures back in. Because he's an old man. Death's a little old. Right? I'm going to put his dentures back in. I'm going to pull the bottom jaw. Oh, it's all one piece. So now I'm going to pull the whole face. Okay. So again, you can go in candies here. You can go with either candy black. You can go with the neutral gray. But what I'm going to do first, I'm going to take my white. And I'm just going to hit where I know is the brightest before I start carving in the shadow. Leahy was doing a great example of this today when he was doing the face. He got those bright highlights out first, where they kind of need to be. So like I'm hitting like the eyebrows where they need to be. Let me see if I can get in here. I'm going to move this camera just a little bit and zoom in a little tighter. So I'm just hitting where the light's coming down on the cheekbones, the nose bridge. Those get the brightest light because they protrude the most, okay? But I can keep it soft and subtle here. Like when Steve was doing this today on his flat earth painting, when he was doing the face, it was great because it just establishes that little bit of light, and it doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be there so you can blend off of it. And if I only get through this part tonight, it will be what it will be. So now the chin, we're going to get that chin, and just off the top of the jawbone, it's going to come down. And this is pretty small, you know, for me anyway. This isn't Steve Leahy small, but this is small. Yeah, I get the money thing. I've worked them side by side. They both work great. The microns just are a little bit consistently more fine.
Oh, Calvin sent 19.
Calvin, you are awesome. Thank you, sir. Oh, turn your audio on. Yay! And you gotta get a little, because everyone needs more cowbell. Cool, so just establish a little bit of that. And now I can come off these teeth with some detail. Alright, so what I'm going to do, because I want to cast some shadow on this, yeah, they'll get pretty close for it. They do. There's just a consistency over the course of the long brand, the way the manufacturing tolerances are set up. It's like a Lexus or Toyota, but the fit and finishes are just better overall over the whole line. They run very similar like the Rich pens and things like that. There's always been a consistency thing. Like the one difference with the microns, and this is actually what they do with them. A lot of people don't realize this. There's actually a person that takes the fluid nozzle, the needle, and the head assembly, matches them up, test sprays it. If it's not perfect, they take a different combination of a nozzle, needle, and head, and match it, and get it to dial in so it's absolutely perfect. That's the kind of difference between the two. It's just there's an extra level of R&D and polishing and put into it. And that's kind of the difference between the two. And there is a value to it, and there is a definitely improvement to it. But realistically, you know, the airbrush is only half of the equation. The user is what makes it best. Yeah, the trigger spring. Yeah, the trigger springs. I'll leave that. I'll leave that one alone. I kind of talked about that last week. The trigger springs don't make much of a difference, in my personal opinion. Maybe it's just because my fingers are a little, the way my fingers hit, and I've been doing it for so long, but when you push down on the trigger, when you lift up, the spring does absolutely nothing. The air pressure is actually what pushes it up. The spring helps it a little bit, but if you have no spring in there, you can call it a ghost spring, when you lift up, it'll shut off. And when you push down, the air will come out. I've used them. I can tell a little bit of the difference, but I don't need the spring to kind of help me keep keep things down. It doesn't take any fatigue off my fingers. So, there's two ways. You can individually change the parts, but it won't be as perfect as it is when it comes to a match set. So, when you buy a new Micron, they're matched by a person to perfection. And they're dialed in, and they're scoped, and they made sure they're perfect. Then you can, if you damage a needle, nozzle, or part, you can buy another matched head assembly. They're not cheap, but you can buy another precision matched head assembly if you choose to. The way I paint, I don't need it fully matched all the time. It's great. I don't require it, so I just change the parts out individually. But there is a minute difference, and if you're really a painter that can feel it, you'll notice a difference. It's not like a non-difference. There is a slight difference there. It's just like taking a needle out and polishing them versus not polishing them. You know, you can, like, I've gone through and like mix and match parts until it's dialed in perfect as well. And it just takes time. Yeah, there is a match. So when you buy a replacement Micron head, it is the same type of quality match set as it is on the Micron when you buy the whole thing new. There is also a slight difference in machining inside. There's a slight difference in parts, machining, and things like that. But look, Krios's rich pens, they all work amazingly well. And they will all get the job done. There is a difference in availability, resources, where you can get them, volume of parts manufacturing, things like that, that can make a difference. Professionally versus, non. But it's very nuanced. Like, all in all, like I said, my favorite brush, if I didn't have all the money, I'd just buy Eclipse HPCs. And then maybe an HPC Plus. And the HPC Plus tuned will run circles around most quote-unquote, Micron-like brushes. And they're even cheaper. So I'd be buying HPC Pluses over anything else if I didn't have the money. I wouldn't waste my money on a Krios or a Micron because I don't need the 0.18 or the 0.23 to do 90% of my work. Especially if you use heavy pigmented colors. Like, that's why whites are always a problem with Microns or Krioses. Because they're 0.18, 0.23s. Its ultimate design is for ink-like consistency. Nah, you can't. The Krioses use a different internal rubber, and they're different. They're only a two-stage. Some of them are two-stage. They don't actually work the same. The Micron, you can use them on the older Microns and the Krioses because it's a different body design. But the newer ones, they don't actually line up. They are a different construction type. They're still 0.15, 0.23, but the three parts connected together into the body connect differently on a Krios versus a Micron. And it's not a slam, it's just there's a different to it. And again, I don't want to experiment. I don't want to mix and match and say, oh, I'll get this and get this. I want to work with the way it's designed. Yeah, HPC Plus. The HPC Plus is an amazing brush. Let's get back to talking about painting and not airbrushes. Because again, it doesn't matter what you're using for a brush. The techniques don't change. Preferences don't make the technique. Over on Facebook, hello Roger, welcome. We got Joe Juice over there. What's going on, buddy? Okay, so now watch. So because I kept the teeth covered the whole time, Calvin, you out of here? Thank you very much, sir, for the super chat. Much appreciated. Oh, I gotta get... So, now if you look, it's really hard to see, but the top jaw and the bottom have two pieces. So I can actually pull the bottom, and I want to make sure I shade under there. And I'm going to define where the teeth are. Those teeth are the back row to the left side, inner teeth. So they're going to be a little darker. And I want to make sure I delineate that back jaw and everything else from these. So when I pull these teeth, you'll see we'll have a really nice, you get that nice delineation because I kept those teeth white the whole time and I worked around them. The teeth look great and I don't need a ton of work to finish them off. So watch. Now I can come from the darker area. Let me zoom in here even more. Yeah, I'm going to go full screen on just him. How about that? Okay, I wonder if I can I focus when I'm live? I think I can. I gotta zoom in a little bit and then come back out.
Oh.
There we go. Aussie Pete, thank you, sir. So now you can see, a lot of people try to like draw the whole tooth. I don't. Come from the dark and do a nice subtle dagger stroke up from each bottom. And there's the fang, see that? It starts to delineate. Now you can come down from the center. Little daggers, and then you can shade those back out. And just work them. Now this is tiny. I mean, that's my thumb. This is pretty small. Yes, between each tooth, because I have the teeth are white, and you're painting the gap between each tooth. So if you look at the way that the teeth actually, let me see if I can draw this out. So the way the shading is done, like this, this is white all in here. So you put you start your airbrush right here, and you do a little dagger stroke up, little dagger stroke up, because it's already black down in here. And you can start here and a little dagger stroke up. Same thing here, from between the teeth here, you can come down, and that'll give you a more natural looking tooth. You know, because remember, teeth are radius. You have a highlight here in the middle because they're rounded. And they're in a socket here, which is also highlighted. So you can do a dagger stroke up and a dagger stroke down and get that tooth socket to really work. Yeah, if I was doing a bigger skull, I would definitely use the pocket graphics so I could come in here, you know, and especially with the Pyro one, you can get in here. And with some of them, you can do a little piece, but it just doesn't work as good with this one. There's always erasing techniques and things like that, but again, this is really small right here. But see a little dagger stroke up, down, and I'm not like drawing the tooth. Yeah, exactly, Gerald. Gerald, exactly the point. you go with the kind of level you're at. So when you're going for the details, the soft gradations, the microns, that soft atomization, you start getting to bigger areas, you want to start going up to the eclipses and the TH2s and the LPH80s, and you want to use the appropriate brush, like, and that just makes it key. So there we go. Now you can see the delineation, and I can start kind of shadowing the robe a little bit. Because remember, this is a white panel. If I was on a black panel, I could approach it a little bit differently. Oops, wrong camera. There we go. Yeah, I wasn't actually zoomed in where I wanted to be. I wanted to be on one camera, but... I was looking at my TV, but not the feed, what it was doing. So my goal was to be doing this. So you can barely see it, but... Where's the instant replay? The instant replay would be on the edit version. Let me get back on this. Yeah, we're going to make this probably a two-part, or I'll record the rest later. Because we're at 9:07 and we're just on the face. Okay, so, but that's, that's really one of the focal parts, is getting that face knocked out and getting that face done. Now we can start moving into the robe. Okay, and then we're going to come back and want to do extra detail and light and shading, but he's at kind of like the 60-70% range. This is kind of where I like to leave it, work the rest, and then go in for final highlights and details. Alright, so down here we have the cemetery stones, we have the robe. So what I want to do now is, I want to get the robe, like inside the arm, the sleeve, pulled off on each one. So we can darken those in. And then we're going to do also inside here, we'll kind of do where these ribs, like the ribs are going to be. If you don't want to do the ribs, you can leave these completely. You can just take this out of the digital cut file and leave that out. Any advice on teeth for a skull? Virgilio, is that just what I was talking about? The same process is you work the teeth the same way. And if you go through my videos, I have a whole bunch on 6-pack of skulls doing them, and I have some other skull videos that kind of shows everything on the way you want to work it back and forth. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, good. Alright, so this is all going to be pretty dark black in here, so I'm just going to hit these hard where the kind of inside the sleeves are. But again, I don't really go 100%, except for like when it's really like right under the bone and under the like it's the darkest dark. I can hit that now if I want, but as I get here, I just transition in because I don't want it to be just solid black. Yeah, notice, yeah, those teeth just stay popped the whole time. Because you put them white first. When you're working on a white panel, it's actually it works better. When you're on like a mid-tone, you got to kind of play with it a little bit. So that's why I did the teeth white on the gray, covered them, and then did the black around it. Okay, so this drawing, I have the rips and tears in here because I know there's going to be ribs. So I'm just... Actually, let's make it easier for you to see. Take your white and your best draw. So I know it's coming down. I know his neck's here, his collarbone's here to here, because this is elbow. His elbow's here and here. Okay, because it comes, so here's his other elbow. So I know the collarbone comes down like here, and it comes over to here. And then here's the ribs. And really, you're just kind of doing a few half kind of smileys where they would be. You're just suggesting them. Yeah, I don't want to zoom too much in right now because I won't be on the ribs. So with the ribs, I'm just registering them in right now, okay? And I'll get back on the teeth and the face when I go in for those finals. You'll see all that detail. But right now, it's just not the focal. So now I can kind of shade. What'd you miss? We started a new painting. No, just kidding. Oops. Just sat for a while. So when it sits for a while, you got to be careful. Because I put my finger and shake like this. Dried paint sat in there. It's clogged the vent hole a little bit. So poke that out. You can actually see it. You actually see a little bit of paint that was there. That'll stop the paint flow. Because you won't be able to get the pressure coming through the cup. Well, this brush is not spraying that well right now. And I'm just going to kind of loosen up that needle. Clear it out a little bit. Sorry about that. Just clog management. There we go. So because it's sat, I had a little bit of dry paint on the needle. Just kind of cleared it out. A lot of wet spray. And now and get those dice dagger strokes. And define the ribs loosely. These aren't a massive focal. They're just kind of there. You're barely going to see them at the end, but everyone's going to know, oh, there's some ribs there, which is cool. The reddish tint on the camera makes the skull look really cool. Yeah, it's catching the light differently than the other camera. Because it's different angles, the camera sensor picks it up different. In person, it's got more of a bluish shift to it. But like if I zoom in, it'll get even redder. Which that's definitely not the color it looks like in person. It's just because the sensor is not picking up enough light anymore. But if I go to camera 3 by itself, you know, now it can be a little bit bigger. Eventually I'm going to get another camera for up here, but it's just money. Steve will get that super chat function, man. It's just, so you need, this is why we tell people to like and share and get on YouTube, because you need, I think it's over 1,000 or 1,100 subscribers. David, thank you very much, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you get a cowbell. No, M Web, he does them on YouTube as well. He did one today. That's his Thursday feed. But to get monetized, so you can get the super chats, you need to have 4,000 watch hours within a 12-month period, along with like 1,000 to 1,200 subscribers. So as you guys watch and share, that's why it's so important to build and help each other out, because that's what builds a channel. Again, I'm going to shade. But YouTube is like playing a long game. You did it for the cowbell, well, you get another. I wish I had a real one. Well, I downloaded that sound clip. That's the best clip I could find today. And I don't want to get demonetized, so I can't play the actual cowbell quote. Darken them up. Like I said, these look like there's a lot going on there, but you know, by the time the whole painting is done, it's just kind of background. I'm gonna give that a little mist. Yes, you do. Leave it running in the background. But like, so, but it's great. So if I do a 2-hour video and 100 people watch the whole thing, okay, that's, you know, that's 200 watch hours on that one video. If 1,000 people watch it the next week, 1,000 views, they watch the whole thing, that's you know, 2,000 watch hours right there. So, you know, it really, you know, the more people that watch, the more it just helps the long term. But you know, YouTube is a long game. Like, to get all the goodies, it's a long game. Like this stuff I can't do on my page yet that I'm waiting for, but I need to get to 10,000 subscribers. I need to get other stuff. It's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on the YouTube side, but it's worth it in the end. And there's some painters doing live feeds I've been trying to explain this to. They don't want to do it, but the way Facebook messes with the algorithm, it just hasn't been as good anymore. So, and the feed quality is just not as great. Like for you guys who have switched over from YouTube to Facebook, it's an immeasurably noticeable difference, and that's the same exact feed, the same, you know, flow, and Facebook chokes it down. Like I look at my Facebook side, it's moving really slow. It looks like a 1990s webcam. Now maybe if I was just on YouTube, on Facebook, it'd be better, but it's not. Just hasn't been worth it. Like I said, these are just kind of choked off in the background. Because when you zoom out, it's a very small part of it. Yep, Fashion Blade is better than none at all. It's right. Yeah, like there's 60 people here on YouTube, which is awesome. Thank you so much. 2 on Facebook, because the quality just looks like, I don't know. I gotta stop. I'm not even gonna comment on it anymore because it's not worth it. Okay, so let's get down to the robes. Actually, now I can pull off almost all the robe and just shade it. Oops, that's the tear. So I want to leave that. Like I said, I can cut. I don't need to save all this because I can cut back in with paper because I have everything printed out, just like regular paper cut technique, that we can go back in and just work it all. So I can pull all this off. And pull here. Let's do this side, then we'll work to this side of the robe. Here. There we go. Cool. Alright, so now I can drop shadow this tear. This tear. Oh, actually I was using the candy. I should just be using the neutral gray for this stage. And then I can darken that after. Just don't oversaturate because I want to make sure we don't lose like the robe itself, which is right here. The sleeve comes down. And we're just going to keep these kind of folds simple and subtle. I'm going to tone him gray. Drop shadow near the mask. Like put it heavier. When you get to the mask, you can be a little heavier. You can add some extra like rips and tears if you want. But if you look at the reference, you can see kind of how it's coming together. Daniel Powers over on Facebook. The painting is a bit grim. Yes, it is. But it has cowbell. And it has more cowbell. We got Mr. Powers from Australia over on the Facebook side. Thanks for popping in. Kelly, post that link up. Dan, if you can, pop over to the Facebook side. You'll see the better quality feed because Facebook's getting really glitchy right now for some reason. I'm not sure why. Yeah, more cowbell. You know it, buddy. Everyone check out Dan's page, too. Dan's got a whole new curriculum coming out, which I believe is going to be either downloadable or is going to be on Facebook or YouTube. I'm not sure. But definitely check out Daniel Powers' pages because he's got a great tutorial program. His original one was amazing, and I know he's reformatting and adding to it. I have his original one, and I learned so much from it. Definitely recommend it. But yeah, pop over that link and go over to YouTube. You just see a better quality feed. Because again, Facebook's just bogging down. Oh, you are doing a streaming online course. Awesome. Yeah, I'm working on mine as well. That's what's awesome about this. We can all get our content out there in so many different ways. So like I said, just getting that mid-tone in. When I get that mid-tone in, oh, you got 90 minutes upload? That's awesome. That mid-tone I can start unmasking because I want to get rid of this harsh edge later with highlighting and shading and get that masked feel out of it. Because even on here, watch, I'm going to pull the rips out. See how those ribs are just starting to float into the background? That's what I want. Because when I pull this off now you can see that brighter kind of rip, which I can highlight, with white and do some scratching. But again, it's just getting all the tone built. This is a pretty complicated one because it is so small. Whereas if you watch the original Reaper how-to, yeah, it's Dan Power Studios. How you doing, man? Make sure you go over to his page, support, like, and subscribe on his stuff, too. We all got to work together. Put quality stuff out there. Like Gerald's putting out amazing stuff. Dan puts out amazing stuff. Steve Leahy puts out amazing stuff. So many guys putting out some really good stuff out there. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, we can shift the cameras around a little bit. What's up, Dan? Yes, Mr. Leahy is in the house. I want to thank everyone for sharing and chatting and Yeah, like Dan, I'm sure. I don't know if you could probably notice a difference from Facebook. Was very glitchy. It was very. It's. I'm watching it on my one of my monitors, and it's glitchy, and I don't know why. It just doesn't. It's all coming out of the same feed, and it looks like crap. Don't know why. Yeah, yeah. So, but over here it's stable, and it's literally coming out of the same encoder. The same. It's 1080p, 24 frames per second, stable feed out, and on YouTube it's the same exact feed, and Facebook just bogs it. All right, so we got this side. Now I'm going to work over to this side. And I'm pulling the robe, I'm leaving the hand. And I'm pulling the robe up to about here and folding it back because, so the robe comes down, and what I did is here's the shoulder, and this is the bone, and then it leads up to your tibia and fibia here. So I'm just going to fold this back and shade it, kind of following up this motion here. And that just kind of gives me the fold of where the robe comes down to the arm. Yep. And yeah, don't forget about that download link and that 20% off cowbell.
Did I spell cowbell right?
You spelled cowbell right, yes. Yeah, so if you go over to McKayFineArt.com, oops, that's the paint. Sorry about that. There we go. McKayFineArt.com, that's where you can get the downloads and the link. Use code cowbell at checkout and you'll get 20% off all the vectors till Sunday evening at midnight. So, anything on my store. Okay? So anything in the store, downloadable, all the digital vectors are 20% off until Sunday. Including all the patterns, which the pattern download has been the best, most received all year. The NASA Illuminati. Steve, that was so fun today in your feed. Some of the comments are just priceless. It was really good. If you want a good watch after this, for some reason I fear this piece. You don't fear it, man. You don't fear the Reaper. I really wish I had the good beat from it, but I couldn't get it. I tried, man. I tried. Okay, so I'm going to just shade in the whole thing. And a lot of this is going to come in at the end where I'll shade like all the folds and just kind of get that same look as the reference material off to the left of the screen, the bottom left. Because remember, the moon's behind him, so he's really in silhouette. Because this moon's going to be very bright, so he's backlit and rim lit. So there's not going to be a lot going on here. It's just going to be, it's mostly dark, so you can really wash most of this out with black. But in this case, I'm using that neutral gray number 1, and then I'll go with the black candy for the final dark. But I'm not losing delineation. That's kind of the key. So remember at the beginning when I saved, so if you look right here, this hood is above this part, and it's starting to kind of blend together. And because I saved it, and you don't have to save it, but I did, I can cut back in with this mask, stick it right on there. Now watch. By putting that on here, and I can go to the black candy now. I can drop shadow that hood, basically, onto the shoulder. Now watch, when I pull this off, we'll start to get that lift. Because it'll be the right amount of contrast. See that difference? Now this hood is, now it looks like it's the right layer. Steve, yeah, Dan, go back and the feed was just excellent. It's just so good. Hey Dan, are your podcasts still up? Are you still doing new ones, or are the other ones still at least up? If anyone wants to go back and watch some of those, I mean listen to some of those are great. Again, I don't have to do a lot here. I just need to get the separation. I need to get the separation from kind of the cloak from the background. And then as I pull everything off, I can start balancing each out with the mask. And what needs to be. Because I'll pull these, like, these cemetery stones after. So just to remind everyone what the total image is, let me bring up this. And you can see it to the right, but I can see it full size. So like, back in here is really dark, and then I'm going to do some mist, some kind of foggy mist. We're going to get this background, we're going to get these crows in here, and these are just going to be silhouette because they're in front. And we'll start pulling this off. And then we'll finish up the rest of the next part of the feed. Again, this was ambitious to try to pull off in 2 hours. But we got the gist of it going here. I know when I did this on the bike, I think I spent half the day on it, the full day to get it done. Steve, you unpacked a lot. Yes, yes you did. And I think what I'm going to do as well, because I use the opaque white, I want to mix up some illustration white, regular illustration white, not the opaque illustration white, because it's better for toning. Spirit Air Customer, thank you for popping in. Appreciate you coming in and sharing and checking it out. Thank you as always. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. So remember here, if I want to start putting in a little bit of highlighting, just to kind of build like a middle tonal gray, I can do that. Like I said, I'm going to definitely mix up a white. I think I'm going to use that the Titan buff, so I won't get the blue shifting on here, and that'll help out, especially on these rips and tears and things like that. And then pull off this rip and tear. Like I said, it's just slowly working it in. Ultimately, this painting, if you're starting out, I would do this maybe a hair bigger, and the detail won't be as hard to get at this moment. If I scale this up 20-30%, this face would be about this big, and that would be a huge difference. And if you're starting out having trouble with detail, just scale it up a little bit. Yeah, I want to thank everyone for the super chats tonight as well. That helps keep this thing rolling. And then maybe next week or the next feed we start doing this, we'll take the rest of the bids, and if anyone wants it, as it comes together, it's a little easier to see what's actually happening. Yeah, we'll get this is the black candy. And shade a little bit of that in here as well. Because I want it dark behind those cemetery stones. Gravestones. Oops, and now, so I gotta get this part. That's also part of the cloak. And we'll get him toned in as well. Back to the neutral. So basically I start the tone in the neutral gray one, and I finish the final dark with the black candy. So watch. So that's the neutral gray, not neutral grain, the neutral gray. And then I can freehand this dark, but if you want, you can find the hood, which is still up here. Thank you, Michelle. Watch, I can put this back, line it up. This is the nice thing about the FBS blue mask. It doesn't distort. It's repositionable. It's so thin. You don't get harsh edges. It's an iron color. Yeah, so now here's the black candy. I'll use that to do the final drop shadow. So I'm actually going to pull this rip in here so it's there. And that way everything can be toned and shadowed. So we start pulling the scythe, it stays brighter. It's all about contrast and maintaining that. So watch, I'm toning this in. Now when I pull this back off, now you'll have that delineation of the hood again is now on top where it should be. Neutral gray Iron Man food. That's a riot. And that robe still comes down. It comes down from here. Yeah, like I said, it's a lot going on. There's definitely a lot. It's really hard to see everything here. But that's why I got that reference off to the side. You can start putting some simple folds. Again, most of the stuff can be done towards the end. It's really just getting the bulk of him done. Hey, John, how's it going? It's going well tonight. Thank you for popping in. Appreciate it. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Where should we go next? Yeah, I don't want to do... Let's get these guys in here. The crows. They're going to be silhouetted. They're in front of the moon. Now I want to show you something that I kind of messed up on a little bit. If you look really close. See really close how there's all this spotting? When I did that black wash of paint on reducer, it was a little too wet and thin. It bled into the cuts. That's why I kind of typically do it a little drier, or I use the pouch powder so I don't get this. It's going to be fine because I can work around it, but to avoid that, you just got to keep less reducer, more paint to kind of get that registration to come back. Because I'm just going to tone him in all the way with the neutral number 1, and then I'll hit it really dark with black candy, but I'll give it a little bit of shading, a little bit of line work, so it's not just like a t-shirt stencil black shape. And then I'll pull this background. Because the scythe, sickle, but it's really a scythe, is brighter and it's white in the background pretty much up here. So But yeah, so here I can do a little bit of feathers. I can do a little bit of shading on the body. You're just kind of tricking it to think there's a lot of detail, even though there really isn't. So like the back wing I'll make darker. The head I'll make a little darker, the wing. Just see those little bits. And when you unmask it, they're not just straight silhouettes. They have a little bit of delineation of detail and shading in here. Okay, cool. Cool. Alright, let's get this background off. Zoom back out a little bit. There you go. We start to get that nice composition, that nice kind of flow. Alright. And the way I have this one is if you look at the reference off to the side here, the background and the stones are almost same tone, but I want to get the background a little darker, and I'm going to do a little bit like a cloud type of feel. You know, it's one of those, I really got to think what I want to do here. Because if I pull this off, it's pretty white. Yeah, I want to get it darker behind it, so I'm going to cover that up. I'm going to use the black. Oh, that didn't go in line. Gonna have to fix that. I'm going to pull this whole background off. So yeah, that robe's actually supposed to go over there, so we'll make that happen. Now you start seeing the kind of composition come together a little bit more. Cool, here. Alright, so we have our moon. Yeah, so it's Friday mid-morning in Australia right now. Is that what it is?
I'm pretty sure Australia's a 13-hour difference.
Well, it depends where in Australia, but because they have a few time zones. You guys have what, 2 or 3 time zones in Australia, Dan? Watch some fishing videos with son. Go for it, man. You guys catch it on the replay. And we got to catch up on the saber-tooth painting. We'll talk about that when you have time. Shoot me a message over on Instagram or Facebook. And we'll get details on that. I got to clear everything and get it off to people. I got to get your address and all that fun stuff. Alrighty, there we go. Wow, it's 1/4. Alright, so let's work on the background. So what I'm going to do is, what I want to do first, I'm going to get a little curve stencil here. This is a cut off piece of Mr. Lavalle's. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? It's going to be a little... I know what I can do. Okay, because I went off center like a 1/4. Watch this. So I'm just going to... It's like an 1/8 inch difference. So we're just going to go up like this. Cut here. And we're just going to increase the left side margin by that 1/8 inch. And we'll do the same thing on the right. And we'll balance this out. Make it look right. Okay, so 1/8 inch all the way down. So it'll have a 1/4 inch mark, I mean 1/2 inch on the top, and like 3/8 on the left and right margin. That'll look cool. And that'll be balanced out. Perfect. See, I meant to do that. Yeah, you gotta have the moon, man. The moon backlight's just great. And what I'll do is I'm gonna get this background done, and then I can go in here with some texture effects. One that someone made. I'm not sure who made those. And we'll get that in there. So let's do some clouds. So the clouds are going to be brighter, so I'm going to work the dark and work the negative space to create the clouds. I'm going to use Gerald's effect. And Gerald did a video a long time ago at Coast AirBrush TV, which he did clouds and he did space. And what I learned was you're basically holding that airbrush and the stencil off the page, and you get that nice soft, edge. And it just gets a much more natural feel. Let me see if I got the larger ones here. Yeah, these guys. This will be better. I was looking for Texture Effects 1, but I don't have it handy. We'll just work with these. So this is kind of shaping how the clouds are going to go. And then I'll come in with the white, and I'll come back in with the black and just tone everything. I just want to make sure I have shading around all the scythe and the clouds and all that. Do a flat moon. It's the flat moon theory. Oh, actually, what was the theory I heard the other night with someone? That the moon is a spaceship. It's been here to monitor us. And it's actually like, that's why we don't see the dark side of the moon, even though Artemis just photographed it a couple of weeks ago. But that's all fake too. NASA's fake. So the color I'm using here is neutral gray number 1 from the Createx illustration set, the grayscale set. And then I'll soften it with some white. But you might have to come back next week for the rest. Continuation of this feed, where we do the moon, the circle, and the clouds, and really bang this out. But you can start to see, once you unmask, now I start getting that depth of field, and you start seeing the composition of this whole piece. And it's going to be a really fun one to work out. So let's work on some clouds here, and then we're going to call it a Thursday evening and get ready for the weekend. Like I said, this download, this vector, along with all the other vectors, are available in McKay Fine Art. You can go get that anytime you need it. And if you use Cowbell at checkout, you can get that nice little 20% discount off this and all the other vectors. Like the patterns and the skulls and the... Oh man, what else we got up there? I can't even think. St. Patrick's Day one's coming up. Actually, it was next month, for not this, so March. The St. Patrick's Day's one, there was actually 2 variants in there, and we only did 1 live, so I think I'll do the other one this year. live. Yeah, I'll do the.
Are you gonna do a Valentine's Day one? Oh, it doesn't fall on. I guess it doesn't fall on Thursday, but.
I think for Valentine's Day we'll just do like around that. We'll do like a. Maybe we'll do a flaming heart.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Just softly register those clouds in, and we're gonna get some of that lighting and just soft. I'll be sanding bike parts and priming them. Oh, so much fun! I don't do a lot of that anymore. I've been fortunate enough over the years to work with some really good shops I can finally sub that up to and let them work it so I can just work on airbrushing. So it took a long time to be able to work with guys I can trust to do it, so I totally get it. But just get those clouds working out. Remember, I don't do anything 100% at this point. It's all kind of in the middle. So once the mask is fully off, then you can really go in and do all you need to do. Yeah, the term, I never really use it, but this is, I'm not sure if Dan's still on. Dan uses a great term in his videos about 100% capped color to deal with opacity, and it stuck with me. Basically getting it up to that point where adding more doesn't change it because it's 100% capped. And it stuck with me how to kind of learn that 50%, 75%. So you work in that kind of middle 50 to 70% range at the end, and then you do your blackest black and your brightest, it doesn't have to be black or white, but your brightest tone to your darkest tone towards the end and really bring it all together. And it helps you control your painting so much more than using like fully opaque white and fully opaque black all the way through the piece, because you're constantly pushing and pulling, and your paintings tend to get muddy if you're not careful. So by working in kind of that middle ground and then toning it to the end is where I kind of find you have the most room to play, that most balance. So VD has something new. Gary Shees with the super chat at the end. Thank you, sir. And he gets some cowbell. and some cheers. Thank you, my friend. Alright, shut up. Thank you, Gary. Oh, drywall sanding. Oh, drywall. Oh, no fun. I just redid my bathroom. I know all about it. And then you know what happened the other night? We were downstairs in the house and we hear bang! I'm like, oh, maybe snow fell off the roof. You know, nothing big. Didn't really think anything of it. Come upstairs and the damn new vanity, the mirror we put above the vanity, you know, the mirror is flush against the wall and it's hung by like a hanger. Yeah, the cow's dying. The adhesive that holds that bracket on the back of the glass completely let go and the mirror fell, cracked the vanity top, smashed the mirror. Sucks. Now I gotta go through all that, replumb and do all this, and because I gotta pull the whole backsplash. It's all granite, and yeah, it just took a chunk out of it. So damn annoying. Okay, so let's tone this. Alright, that kind of concludes where we're at tonight. We got a really good percentage of the way through the painting. I'd say it's probably about 60% of the way. That last 40% is where we'll spend all the little detail, and we'll work out the moon and the sickle. We'll do the wood, we'll do the hands and the bones, and then the headstones, and just get this thing wrapped up. So I hope you enjoyed this portion of it. Maybe you guys who've downloaded it already, you can download it and work on it till next week. Oh, and kind of get to this point, you can wrap it up with me next week on next Thursday's feed. And we'll wrap it up from there. The size panel we're working on, for those who want to start it, or Gary who's asking, this is a 12-inch by 14-inch panel, and it's a half-inch border. So the painting itself is 11 by like 13 and a half. And this is on my typical aluminum core board. And this will be a really, really cool piece. So I want to thank everyone for popping in.
Size panel?
Yep. Just talked about it. I want to thank everyone for popping in this Thursday night and the patience this piece. Like I said, it's a little bit of a slower piece to kind of dial in on. And next Thursday we will wrap this thing up and put some other goodies out there. So in the interim, go to McKayFineArt.com, download the files, get started yourself. You can wrap this up last week. So the Pumpkin Reaper set, I believe that... I think the Pumpkin Reaper and the Reaper are one, but I forget. I think they are. Yeah, double check. But I think they're all included in one. Or there might be two different ones. It might be the Reaper set and the Pumpkin Reaper set. But regardless, it's 20% off anything in the Reaper set that has this. And we'll go from there. So thank you all for popping in. It is time to take off. And have a good evening. Thank you very much for checking everything out. And we're going to get out of here. See ya.